Welcome to the sun-drenched tropical paradise of Isle Delfino. We're so pleased to welcome you to our beautiful home. Come enjoy a natural wonderland to which we've added the world's finest resort facilities, a spectacular amusement park, and succulent seafood. All this and more await you on Isle Delfino. Come relax and let us refresh your body and spirit.
There are a lot of games that during the test of time really should have been more appreciated during its release. Super Mario Sunshine was a game that received critical acclaim and a bunch of success during its release. However, over the years, it has faced severe criticism as the 3D Mario game with potentially the most flaws. It's interesting because it had a hard task already during the time of its release. It was trying to stand on its 2 feet, trying to somehow become a successor sequel to one of the most highly revolutionary and critically acclaimed video games of all time, Super Mario 64. With what 64 was able to achieve in terms of revolutionary ways of how to make a 3D video game, the way the movement really impacted games at the time, and just in general, the way Super Mario 64 made and paved the ways for video games of modern day with the way that it handled 3D structure, it of course would make a lot of sense. Super Mario Sunshine had massive shoes to fill, and it was not going to be an easy task. Nintendo and Shigeru Miyamoto, the main Mario director, had to get to work right away to figure out how they were going to make the next 3D Mario game really stand out from its predecessor. Sunshine is a game that takes a lot of risks. It's the Mario game that I classify as the Mario game that was a complete gamble. Now, you can say that for a lot of 3D Mario games, but when Sunshine got the critical acclaim and praise at the time that it did, after multiple years where post-Sunshine, we have other 3D Mario video games coming out that have completely shaped how 3D platformers are made and built today, it's very obvious that Sunshine feels like a bit of an outlier in comparison to the rest. Super Mario Sunshine is weird. It's a bizarre situation. It's a game that I feel like nowadays should just be appreciated more. It was a game that did a lot, especially at the time in the early 2000s. It was also a video game that was trying to follow the trend of the new water technology that was really being pushed in video games in the early 2000s. And well, this game is the epitome of that water technology in the early 2000s. Water is the whole premises. It's the theme of this game. It's the importance of what makes Sunshine what it is. Water is the essential piece of Super Mario Sunshine. And so today, I want to take a look at everything that Super Mario Sunshine does. The sequel to one of the most critically acclaimed video games of all time. How did Nintendo do it? How did water become such an important aspect of this game? Why do people at the time that praised it? How come now it is one of the most critiqued Mario games to date, 2D and 3D alike? Well, we're gonna find that out together. Today, we're taking a look at Super Mario Sunshine. The way how I want to do this introduction for this video is going to be a bit different, as obviously we're tackling a 3D platformer today. And so, I want to start this off with the build-up for this game. We pretty much start off with us seeing a plane. It involves Mario, Peach, and Toadsworth. They're watching a Delfino Isle advertisement broadcast, essentially where they're going to be staying for the entirety of this game. Delfino Isle is a tropical place, filled with areas that you can just enjoy the summer breeze, feel the ocean water, and just in general, if you're looking for the perfect vacation spot, Delfino Isle is the place to be. However, Things take a turn right away during the watching of this advertisement broadcast. We see the Shadow Mario figure where Peach immediately notices it, and it's very clear that something is already up. Moving forward in the introduction, we then see the rough landing at the Delfino airstrip with the plane, and then, as soon as we get out, we're introduced to the first gameplay section, where we see the paint and goop all over the center of the Delfino airstrip, trying to figure out what caused this and how to take care of it. Which is then where we meet the main gimmick of Super Mario Sunshine, in Fludd, who's his own character actually. We'll get to Fludd a little bit later in the video, but for now, let's get right through the introduction. We take down this Proto-Piranha, which can be in various different colors throughout the game, but this one is the main color of it. We take it down, and then this is where you get your first Shine Sprite, which is the main collectible of Super Mario Sunshine. We then see the Pianta, who are the local people of Delfino Isle, where we just landed. However, these two are coming in the form of cops. And that's where we find out that Mario is now placed under arrest and have been put behind bars. A court trial was in session where Mario is being accused of all this paint and goop being around, to the point where the sunlight in Delfino Isle is being affected because of the main center Shine Sprite. It's because of this that Mario has now been put on probation and has essentially been put on the task to essentially clean all this mess up before he can really do anything. It's already the setup of this game that I think makes it a bit different than other 3D Mario games. Mario, essentially at the beginning of this game, is looked as a criminal, yet he has to clear his name and prove his innocence by just doing what he's there for. And right away we see this in Super Mario Sunshine with the first encounter with Shadow Mario, where the game introduces that the main point of this is that you have to take down Shadow Mario using Fludd the water gimmick. Once you do that, you're essentially free, and you're able to freely explore what Super Mario Sunshine has to offer. Now with the introduction out of the way, let's finally get into the game itself. Let's start with the areas that you actually explore. I actually want to tackle this first because I really do love the areas within Super Mario Sunshine. So let's get right into it. The first area is Bianco Hills, a very interesting water slope that immediately introduces you to this very interesting village in the left, and on the right, you have a hill going all the way up to a very massive tower. It's a very interesting area, and a very good beginner level for this game. I also really love the music that plays a part in making this feel warm. Next is Rico Harbor. It's exactly what you expect. It's a massive harbor with ships around, crates, and also this very massive infrastructure right in the middle of it. The music is also an interesting take and a little bit different than the main theme of this whole game as a general. You can hear some stuff from Bianco Hills, but slightly different here in Rico Harbor. We then have Gelato Beach, a very massive beach with a lot of tropical trees and so many different cataquacks around the area. But what also makes it interesting is the sandbird statue in the middle, which also replicates why Gelato Beach is what it is. And also, this song is a perfect summer song if I've ever heard one for a video game. We then have Pina Park, which is one of the more different sort of areas in this entire game. Pina Park is the Delfino Isle theme park. It has a bunch of attractions, a bunch of rides, a bunch of different things to see, and just has so many different things to experience. It's also the only area along with Serena Beach that has an area outside of the main part and another area completely inside the main part of the whole area. The music here also makes you feel like you're in for a jolly old time. Serena Beach is very interesting. The first mission, you don't even get to see the main part of the area, as you have to completely take care of stuff surrounding the outside area. But once you find Hotel Delfino, this is where really Serena Beach makes its area as a whole, and it's a very beautiful place. Bay is exactly what you expect. It's the Bay Area of Delfino Isle. This here has been completely filled with very weird water substances surrounding it. And, well, that's what we're here for. We're here to clean it. And Noki Bay definitely makes you feel like you're in the bay. Finally, we have Pianta Village. I actually really love this area. It's one of my favorites because, well, it feels like a genuine place where all the Piantas really come together. But also, I really love the music. It really feels like what I would consider the Piantas theme, sort of, in this game. Because this is where they all are, and this is sort of their kind of music, which I can respect. Super Mario Sunshine has a total of 7 main areas to explore, with the one hub world being the Delfino Plaza for Delfino Isle, and as well as the final area in Corona Mountain, which we'll get to in a little bit later on in the video. But here, this is really where you see the main structure of Super Mario Sunshine. Essentially, this is where everything is going to play out. You go anywhere in Delfino Plaza, sort of just like how it is in Peach's Castle in Super Mario 64, and from here, you basically get to decide which areas you go to. And obviously, you have to do some progression in certain areas to be able to get access to other areas. But this is also one of my biggest things I have to talk about Sunshine. I feel like I've praised the areas. Let's talk about the main flaw of these areas. The very first thing is actually the way the shine sprite structure is in this game. You see, in other 3D Mario games, you're allowed to have the complete freedom to go around and do any stars or any of the collectibles in any order that you want. However, I feel like in Super Mario Sunshine, they completely strip this from you. The one thing I love about the Mario video games is that you have complete agency on how you want to go through the game. Sunshine forces you to do it the way it wants you to. You see, each area, just like in 64, has about 8 stars/shine sprites to collect. However, in every area, you have to at least do the first 7. And there's a main reason for this that I think I have to get into. Super Mario Sunshine is sadly one of the main Nintendo video games during the early years of the Nintendo GameCube that sadly had to suffer the fate of cut content. The 2 main games that suffered this were indeed Super Mario Sunshine and The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. One of the main reasons this happened was simply because it had to meet deadlines, but also other things that hampered the development of these games. Super Mario Sunshine apparently is rumored to have had a whole nother area in the game that could have been freely explored, as well as a different Delfino Plaza. Both were completely cut. Sunshine also was trying to make history, with being a Mario video game that would have had a 2-player co-op mode, which would have been interesting to see how that would have been handled. Would it have been like how it is in the Galaxy video games with Mario and the Luma? I would actually have expected it to be a bit different. However, sadly that got cut as well. The Wind Waker also suffered this with 2 complete dungeons that were completely cut. Whenever we get to the Wind Waker as a video, I will definitely be talking about how I think that completely hampered a part of that game. To the point where I think it really affected the game as a whole, and why I think a bit of the ending of the stretch in Wind Waker got completely affected. But that's for another time. Sunshine was a game that got completely affected by cut content. And, while you might not think it's a lot, I think it completely affected the structure of this game due to a complete area being cut from the game. as now, the game is forcing us to do the first 7 shine sprites out of 8, with the 8th one, after you're solving the problems in each area, being pretty much treated as a optional bonus shine sprite for basically doing the duties that you had to in each area. You'll see how Super Mario Sunshine does it. Now this is at least the one thing I will praise with the structure of this game. It sort of feels like each area has its own potential story. In Bianco Hills, you're trying to take care of the paint and goop itself. It's the one area where I feel like it really touches base on this, with also trying to take care of Petey Piranha, who's wrecking havoc. In Rico Harbor, you're trying to take care of a gigantic blooper, while also just trying to help out in general on the harbor. Gelato Beach, you're trying to fix a lot of things with the Sandbird statue that is really being affected. In Pina Park, you'll learn a lot about what the main premise of Shadow Mario is, along with the simple fact that you're basically just trying to protect the theme park. Serena Beach, you're trying to help the Hotel Delfino manager, while basically trying to also solve problems with inside the Hotel Delfino and outside. In Noki Bay, you're trying to help out the people here by cleaning up the water substance that is really not safe to be around, and also find out what is causing all this. In Pianta Village, you're trying to help out the Piantas continue to live their regular lives, and trying to take care of all this pain and goop that Shadow Mario is causing, or he's causing the most damage. Every single area in this game has a problem that they want Mario to face and be able to clean up in every aspect. This is another reason why I love Pianta Village as one of my favorite areas. This game essentially uses Pianta Village as the final stretch to the final area in Corona Mountain. The way the Piantas are suffering due to this pain and goop, the way how it's really causing problems for a lot of the people who are regularly living in this village, and also that final battle with Shadow Mario in this area, where he's really causing the most havoc he's had in the previous areas, really show that this is the final area to push for the final boss in this game. It's interesting, really. Sunshine somehow proved to use one of its flaws into one of its strengths. And while, yes, it is still a problem to me in my opinion, because I think agency is a big part in 3D Mario video games, I at least can appreciate the attempt here, and how to fix this problem. In every single area there are shine sprites to collect, but in every 3D Mario game, you know there are bound to be a bunch of collectibles to get. In this game, the other main collectible you can get for 100% completion is the blue coins. You see, in Super Mario Sunshine, the shine sprites are the same total amount as the power stars in Super Mario 64. There are a total of 120 shine sprites to collect in Super Mario Sunshine. Along with this game, provides a bunch of blue coins. There are so many shine sprites to collect in each area, there's even a lot of bonus ones. However, for the main ones, there are 8 in each area, with potentially 3 to 4 extra shine sprites in each level. There are also 30 blue coins that you can collect. So if you're a collectathon person, this game kind of gives you a lot to try to go for. However, I feel like a lot of it, while yes, very achievable, it is pretty easy to get. But these are really a lot of the content of Super Mario Sunshine. A lot of the things you're doing is to get these shine sprites, to help out Delfino Isle as a whole, and to really take care of Shadow Mario. Now, I think it's finally time that we get to the man of the hour, the main gimmick of Super Mario Sunshine, Fludd. Fludd is basically a water dispenser, however you may look at it. He can squirt out water, and he has so many different nozzle functions that he can basically be a lot of an advantage in a lot of areas. He's the main factor to solving the problems here in Delfino Isle. His main thing, of course, is being used as a water pistol. That's the main nozzle you'll use and will forever stay in his arsenal throughout the entire game. But there's multiple different nozzles that Fludd can use. The first one is the hover nozzle, which you start the game along with as well, and the one you'll be using the most throughout the game for sure. For one, the hover nozzle helps you get through areas that are a bit hard to get to if you were just doing some basic platforming. It's essentially very helpful. The main water pistol is called the squirt nozzle. The hover nozzle, which come in blue boxes. The ones in gray boxes are the turbo nozzles, which are ones that pretty much make you go really fast through an area, basically boosting into every area. And then finally in the red boxes, there are the rocket nozzles, which can shoot you really high up in the air. I gotta be honest, this is also where I will point out something of my own theory. I think there was a lot of content that can be proven with some of the functions of Sunshine. You can beat this game without basically using the turbo nozzle at all. You don't really need this in any of the Shine Sprites. The rocket nozzle, you might need to use to get to certain areas to make sure that you get to them. However, I feel like it's the same boat. The rocket nozzle is really only being used in specific ways to get to other levels. And in my opinion, I don't think it's used as much as it should be. The game made an emphasis of using the squirt nozzle and the hover nozzle, which are the two main factors of Fludd. I feel like Fludd could have been utilized more. And this might be a crazy hot take, but I seriously believe this. Fludd is a great gimmick. And I love how they used what was impressive at the time with the water technology that was really growing in a lot of video games during this era. And I love that they used that, especially for the reasons they used the water in this game. You see, Yoshiaki Koizumi was influenced by childhood memories for Delfino Plaza, with heroes jumping from rooftops to rooftops. However, the reason why Fludd was essential in the gameplay was because of his childhood memories of playing in the water. And I feel like Shigeru Miyamoto, the main Mario director, definitely agreed with this, as by the time this wanted to be proposed to Miyamoto, he was already planning to try to find a way for Mario to utilize water in the upcoming 3D Mario game, which turned out to be Super Mario Sunshine. And honestly, it's for good reasons. There are a ton of things that you can do with water in this game. I really find it how appealing it was for Shigeru Miyamoto and the entire staff that worked on this game to try to make sure the water worked out precisely the way it can, that way it can be a core element of this game. But I still gotta stand by what I said earlier. Fludd, I think, had a bunch of potential. I think a lot of it was utilized, and I think there could have been way more ways to fully flesh him out. Fludd is why I think this game might get criticism for it nowadays. I feel like the structure of Super Mario Sunshine, along with the way they try to use Fludd, I think could have been done better. And again, I feel like a lot of this boils down to the fact that a lot of this game went through a lot in development, a lot of cut content. And again, I feel like that affected a lot of what Fludd could do. Fludd is still great. And again, you can still use the other nozzles. You can still use the turbo and rocket nozzle whenever you feel like. The game gives you that option to freely use them. However, I still feel like, in terms of main missions that you can do in this game, I feel like they could have done more with them. And I will still stand by that till probably the end of time. However, it is what it is, and we just simply have to love what the game at least offered to us. Now, I will say, I think the core element of Fludd, being able to use him in certain levels and areas in the way that we do, I think is perfect. For example, Bianco Hills, I think, really actually showed how important Fludd is for this game. Which, I guess, we can get right into some of the Shine Sprites in this game that I definitely want to acknowledge. Bianco Hills first 2 is something I want to acknowledge. The first one is essentially fighting a different colored Proto-Piranha to getting an easy Shine Sprite and fixing the bridge. The other one, though, is climbing the PD Piranha Tower and taking down PD Piranha. I think this was a good setup into showing us some of the boss fights of Sunshine, how they'll operate and work. Especially with the way you spray water to PD Piranha whenever his mouth opens, to then completely ground pounding his stomach, I think was an interesting way to do a boss fight. And trust me, there's a lot that get crazy. The blooper, you have to pull on his arms to then pull out the bottle cap, do the same thing, rinse and repeat, and then you'll officially take it down. There's even stuff like the massive Bowser robot in Peanut Park, where taking this down essentially with rockets, thanks to the help of Fludd. And then there's also the Boo in Serena Beach in the casino area of Hotel Delfino, where you throw red hot chili peppers to it, and then you throw any piece of food at it to do some damage to it. It's a very interesting way to develop and design a boss fights in this game, but you know, I did love and appreciate the creativity of how to attack these things. It makes you actually think, okay, how exactly we're going to take this down with some of the new gameplay mechanics that we do have in this game. It really raises that question, and I think the way you find your answers, I think is actually what makes me kind of really enjoy a lot of the Sunshine boss fights. Back to the Shine Sprites though. Bianco Hills has a lot of great Shine Sprites. Obviously, every area has the 8 red coin Shine Sprite, so those are easy. Every area also has the Shadow Mario fight in the 7th Shine Sprite to really complete that area so that way you can progress to the final part of the game at Corona Mountain. However, let's really talk about other aspects of Sunshine's Shine Sprites. Let's talk about some others that I really want to point out. The first thing I want to talk about is the other main Shine Sprites in each level. There are hidden areas with secrets that really hold specific Shine Sprites. It's up to us to go to them and figure out what they're about. When Mario gets to these secret areas, we then get a cutscene and then see what we're getting ourselves into to get these Shine Sprites. This is what I call the platforming challenges in Super Mario Sunshine. Boy, these are actually some pretty challenging 3D Mario levels. However, I did actually love how this game handled them. You see, this game really tests your platforming movement skills to the test with a lot of these Shine Sprites. The first one is easy, but I feel like once you get through the first one in Bianco Hills, the rest really requires some of the learning that you've gotten from this game and being used to the full test. A lot of people actually consider these pretty challenging. With some practice, these can become a bit easier over time. But I can't lie, you really have to get used to Mario's movement in Sunshine, which, by the way, from other different 3D Mario games, feels a little different. You see, Mario moves a lot. Even when he stops, he moves a lot. When he does flips, he goes really far. It's part of the mechanics and movement of this game. But I can't lie, it does affect the core gameplay, especially when you look at it with these platforming challenges. The way you do flips, the way you do wall jumps, the way you're basically able to do flips to get to higher ground and get to faraway places to make sure you make those jumps. Sunshine uses the movement tech of this game to try to make a very balanced but challenging experience with these platforming Shine Sprites. And in my opinion, they're actually some of my favorite parts of this game. Going into these secret areas, testing out my platforming skills in this game, and being able to do them. However, one of them is a bit controversial. This is the Sandbird, one of the Gelato Beach secret areas in this game. My god, I have no clue what the point of this one was. Essentially, you're on a sandbird, but the way it moves around is a little scuffed. You're kind of moving around, it's very janky of an area on this sandbird, and it's also used as the 8 red coin mission for this Shine Sprite. So guess what? You have to get the 7 on this bird, and you also have to survive some turns that this does, or it's all the way back at the beginning of the Shine Sprite for you. It can be a bit of a pain, especially when you have no clue what you're doing and it's your first time doing this mission. It can really get to you, especially with how they handled this. It's one of the most janky Shine Sprites to collect in this game, and thank God I had past experience of doing this, because it took way more tries the first time I did this one in comparison to now, and it's good that I know what I should do a part of this Shine Sprite, what the plan I should be doing is, in comparison to how I did it the first time. If you're playing Sunshine for the first time, this Shine Sprite really might get to you. If you have experience, it's way easier than really what I think I'm saying it for. But it can really do that, especially because your jumps have to be precise, the clouds that get into the way might accidentally take you, forcing you to get back on this janky bird, which can really cause a lot of bottomless pit deaths. And just in general, you have to do perfect jumps to get to the final red coin. And then, in order to get the final 8th red coin, you have to do a lot of precise jumps. This Shine Sprite is no easy task, and when you're finally done with it, you really thank God that you finally did it. It really is demanding. There's one in Peanut Park which I actually kind of really messed with the creativity of. You see, this one is the Yoshi go-round secret. Essentially, to get to this platforming challenge, there's a merry-go-round, which has a bunch of colored Yoshis, but you'll notice there's a missing one for one of the orange Yoshi placements. Essentially, you have to get the orange Yoshi and get to here. Right, let's talk about Yoshi for a second. This is another thing where I think a part of some cut content was part of this game. I'm sorry to say, but man, this game really felt like I feel like they could have utilized this stuff more. Yoshi is only part of a couple Shine Sprites, and it really takes until the last couple Shine Sprites in some areas, and also the final part of some of these areas, to really utilize Yoshi to his full potential. And however, I do like kind of how you have to get Yoshi in this game. You see, every Yoshi will stay in its egg, and if you give the required fruit that it wants, it will then hatch out of its egg, and you're allowed to use the Yoshi at free will. Yoshi jumps fucking high. He really does. He jumps very high. He can flutter jump really high. He has some very good movement to him. And also, his tongue is a superpower, just like how it is in other Mario games. You use Yoshi correctly, and he can be pretty much the greatest thing that ever happened to you in the Mario games. The reason why I love how you get the orange Yoshi in this one is because putting him in this right place automatically brings you to the platforming challenge for the Shine Sprite. I actually love that you have to go get the fruit, get the correct colored Yoshi, and get it done. Because sometimes getting the correct colored Yoshi isn't easy. Sometimes the Shine Sprite will spawn in a pink Yoshi with the closest egg being towards you, and so it can kind of make things a bit difficult in how to get this orange Yoshi. But most of the time, it will spawn the orange Yoshi with the egg really near you with this Shine Sprite. You just go get the fruit, do that, put him in the correct placement on the merry-go-round, and you get to do this platforming challenge. Again, Sunshine really has a lot of interesting ideas that I think were implemented really well. But again, Yoshi is part of this gameplay style, and once again, I feel like they could have utilized Yoshi more. He's only part of specific Shine Sprites, and I feel like he could have been part of the game more. A game that I feel like in 3D really utilized Yoshi very well is Super Mario Galaxy 2, where, yes, he's only in some stars, but at least you can still use him a bunch. In this game, I think you really only use him for a handful of missions at best, and he doesn't really stay for a while when you do. Let's talk about some other Shine Sprites though. There's this cool one in Serena Beach called the Mysterious Hotel Delfino, where you're really going to have to solve what basically feels like a Hotel Delfino puzzle in order to get where you need to for the Shine Sprite. You'll see that Yoshi is here, but you have to use him later on. You have to find specific rooms to get through. You'll even have to get through the ventilation system essentially to get to the Shine Sprite in this bit of an area here. It's honestly pretty interesting, and this is actually one of my favorite Shine Sprites in the game. Even though the first time I played this game, this one took a bit of time to get, I still can appreciate what this Shine Sprite did. It is awesome. I actually really love a lot of the Shine Sprites in Noki Bay. Let's get into it. The Ely Mouth's Dentist is a very interesting one where it's pretty much another exposure to the underwater sections of this game and how you use Fludd to basically get around these water areas in the game. However, with this one, you pretty much have to be a dentist for this eel. This Ely Mouth has a lot of paint and goop surrounding it, and you have to clean it to get it back to its senses, earning you a Shine Sprite. There is Piantissimo, who is essentially your race partner in this game. In Super Mario 64, you have the Koopa, who essentially raced you to certain areas with the flag. In this game, it's Piantissimo, a specific Pianta who loves racing and will challenge Mario to specific races in each area. These are actually a lot of fun, although they're very easy to get to. Again, Super Mario Sunshine has a lot of great Shine Sprites, a lot of great areas if I might add, and there's a lot to collect in this game. This game offers a lot, and I feel like it should be something to really touch on when talking about this game. There are so many different kinds of Shine Sprites, so many different kinds of missions that you'll really have a lot of enjoyment. But there's also some where I think this game's clunkiness really show. There's a couple more Shine Sprites I want to talk about, so I'll get through them really fast. There's this one in Rico Harbor, where there's red coins on the water. You essentially have to get on the Koopa shell, and you'll traverse through the water going really fast, and you can actually control the speed and where you're going to get these 8 red coins. However, you have to be precise. Any crashing into any of the things within this environment automatically counts as a death, so you want to be careful to preserve your lives here. The Mirror Madness one in Gelato Beach will take a bit of practice to get what you're supposed to be doing here. In these mirrors, you're basically trying to get these giant cataquacks out of the platform, and by doing that, you have to go to the other side, ground pound it, and get them out. This might take a bit of time, especially the final one that has a bunch of them on it, because they don't come off easy, and it'll take a bit of practice getting them in the same area to be able to do this. The Runaway Ferris Wheel is one of the more janky shine sprites in my opinion in terms of how to get here. You have to go around, do a bit of a platforming challenge here, and the way it works is just so much jank. Everything has to be precise or you're going to be falling and falling and falling and falling again. This one might take some time, and in my opinion, this is one of the most flawed shine sprites in the game for me personally. And then I'll obviously get into every area's 7th shine sprite, the Shadow Mario battle. Essentially, this is a chase to Shadow Mario. You need to take him down in order to be able to complete everything that you have to do in each area. And by the way, some areas of doing this are easier than others. However, one thing that I can give as a piece of advice is that Shadow Mario usually goes in patterns, which was able to help me in future tries of playing this game. Of course, I've now been in this game multiple times, and knowing these patterns make these shine sprites a cakewalk. But like I said with Pianta Village, Shadow Mario still goes in his pattern, but he's also more chaotic in this one, spreading paint and goop around, also by sometimes changing his patterns completely, and also sometimes he won't wait for Mario. If there's a lot of distance between Mario and Shadow Mario, then Shadow Mario will wait. But this time, Shadow Mario just doesn't care, he's still gonna go. That's what makes the Pianta Village one feel very deserving. It feels like after all the effort he had to put into finally stopping this guy and taking him down the final time before the final shine sprite of this game they have to get, it feels super rewarding. And really feels like now you've finally finished all the main areas of this game to get to Corona Mountain. Let's talk a bit about this game and the main premise of what is happening here. Why is there Shadow Mario? Where is Bowser? There's so many things we need answers to. Let's talk about a bit of it. Shadow Mario is in every game. It's pretty clear from the introduction that, yep, he's causing havoc around Delfino Isle, and he's kinda looks like a copycat of Mario, which is why Mario is being accused of some of these crimes, despite it not even being him. The person who is Shadow Mario, which was revealed in Peanut Park during its first shine sprite, is Bowser Jr. He took Peach to enter Peanut Park, and so while Mario blasts off to this shine sprite, we then figure out the true intention of what's going on here. Bowser Jr. was told by Bowser that Princess Peach is his mother, which is why he's doing all these things, because he's trying to be with his mother at all times. It's exactly why he brought out Mecha Bowser during this mission here, and it's also the reasons why he's being Shadow Mario, to paint this picture. He wants to be able to make sure that Mario simply stays put, to really stop what he's doing. But it's Mario. He knows the true intentions of why Bowser is saying this, and of course, he's gonna stop them at all costs to save Princess Peach, because obviously he knows that this isn't true. Which is exactly why I think it's finally time to talk about the final, true area of this game. When you're done with Pianta Village, you'll see Shadow Mario running away after what just transpired there. You'll then see him go into this secret area within Delfino Plaza. That's when you see when Mario comes back into the frame, Delfino Isle is completely flooded with water. There's barely any place to really do any platforming to get to Corona Mountain. You'll soon figure out how to get there, but I find it very interesting how now this has played out. The place is flooded. The whole area that seemed to be a tropical resort has really been taken by Bowser's clutches. And now, it's time to free and save everybody, and really do what we're here for. It's time to go to Corona Mountain. to be honest. Corona Mountain is a bit difficult. It's a great final area, but I think it's a little short, especially in comparison to some of the other final Bowser areas in the 3D Mario games. This one I felt like a lot more time could have been put in to really make this a bigger area than what it could have been. Because if you really look at it, it can be broken down into specific sections. Mario has to go around with Fludd and be able to be careful of these platforms that are smoking up fire and flames, and also ones with spikes. You have to time your jumps, perfectly platform around here, which will then lead you to the next section. There's a boat. Mario must use the squirt nozzle to be able to get around this area in the boat. This isn't easy as well, as it's very sensitive. Again, showing the consistency of Super Mario Sunshine having jank, which is part of the criticism of this game. However, once you finally get over the hump of this boat section, you'll get to finally another area that actually utilizes the rocket nozzle. Here, you'll platform through clouds, being able to use the rocket nozzle to get a boost up in the air, and then, once you get to the final cloud, you finally reach the final boss, with Bowser. As you can see, we seem to be in a hot tub with Bowser and Bowser Jr. Once Mario gets here, it's very clear. It's time to finally stop Bowser from doing what he's doing, wreaking havoc all around Delfino Isle, obviously trying to use a reason why Bowser Jr. should help him. And then, it's finally time. It's time to take down Bowser, retrieve Peach back to us once again, and finally save Delfino Isle. Let's do it. This final boss is very easy. I'm just going to simply put it, compared to other Bowser fights which have a lot of scope and scale, this one is pretty fast, and I feel it can easily end in a span of 2 minutes. Here, you'll actually use the rocket nozzle for something, which is another reason why I do like the utilization of the rocket nozzle at the end of this game. You'll use it to ground pound in these specific areas outside of the hot tub, basically causing catastrophic damage to it as a whole. Along the way, bullet bills will be coming, but this is what sets up this final boss perfectly. Using the rocket nozzle to completely damage everything, and ending this game as a whole. Once you finally get the final one, you'll finally get the final cutscene of Super Mario Sunshine. Obviously, we finally take down Bowser, we save Delfino Isle, and sadly we see what happened with Fludd here. He gets damaged. However, we do get to see a warming Bowser cutscene that, in my opinion, is one of the greatest Bowser cutscenes in all of the Mario franchise.
Junior, I've got something difficult to tell you about Princess Peach.
I know, she's not really my mama. Someday, when I'm bigger, I wanna fight that Mario again.
That's right, boy. Well put, son. The Royal Koopa line is as strong as ever. But for now, let's just rest a while.
Bowser and Bowser Jr. finally seem like they're going to continue to work to try to take down Mario in the future games. However, it's finally time I talk about this. Fludd pretty much gets repaired. It's finally time to enjoy the relaxing vacation that is supposed to take place in Super Mario Sunshine. And just like that, we have completed the game. It's an interesting and weird ride to talk about. As you can see, it's kind of weird to talk about this game. Its structure is super weird. It kind of feels like the game has jankiness all over the place due to some of the design of some things. But what I will say about Super Mario Sunshine is that I do think the game is still enjoyable and fun. I love everything that you can do in this game. Super Mario Sunshine, I think, was the correct choice for a Super Mario 64 sequel. As I mentioned earlier, the Nintendo GameCube was trying to meet deadlines with a lot of these games. The reason why was most notably the Sony PlayStation 2 was having complete and utter dominance within the video game industry. Everyone wanted the silky smooth PS2 within their houses. And for the first time, Nintendo really had a serious challenge in getting console sales with the GameCube. The Nintendo GameCube was trying to meet very tight deadlines. which is why I mentioned earlier that sadly Super Mario Sunshine had to suffer cut content. It is one of the main reasons why I think Sunshine suffered immense flaws in comparison to other 3D Mario games. Especially when you find the polish within the next 3D mainline Mario video games soon to come after. Sunshine is weird, it's strange, it's also one of the only 3D Mario video games to not even include Peach's castle. Super Mario Sunshine wanted to have its own identity, and what I think it does well is its own identity. Everything revolving around Delfino Isle. It's a Mario game about a relaxing vacation, gone completely chaotic. It's a game of trying to solve a problem of something that you didn't commit a crime for, but you're the solution. At the end of the day, you're playing as the hero of multiple different adventures previously, and this time, he has to do it again. Even if the situation and circumstances are a bit different this time in terms of his favor. This is why I think I actually loved Sunshine's location and theme the most. Delfino Isle is awesome. It's one of my favorite all-time areas in Mario. Because of how they utilized it. It definitely feels like its own place. It's alive, it's fresh, it's something completely different than what we've seen this series be accustomed to. And I think they've continued sort of this trend in Mario games moving forward, especially in spin-off games, where they try to have their own areas, location, themes, settings, you name it. But this is really, in a 3D Mario game, where this setting really took over as the dominating factor of a video game in the Mario franchise. I gotta say, Super Mario Sunshine is once again bizarre. It's weird, it's strange, it's quirky. Yet, in the modern day, I feel like we should appreciate it more for what it is. Super Mario Sunshine is a Nintendo GameCube game, on a console that was striving to find any way for more success during the PS2 dominance era. The other competitors suffered the same fate. We're going to talk about a lot about this console generation on this channel at some point, but today, I just want to focus on the GameCube. With this tight deadline stuff and the cut content, Sunshine had a lot against it. Sunshine had a lot to work with, in super tight time, and they still were able to achieve a great game. As of what I'm going to tell you right now, Super Mario Sunshine has been able to sell 6.28 million copies, at least from what I can find, making it still, to this day, one of the top-selling Nintendo GameCube titles. Of course that was going to happen. Mario is the biggest name in all of video games. Everybody that is yet to even play a video game still know who Mario is. Mario is a video game legend. People want to play his video games because of how much fun they really are. Sunshine is the game where, yes, you can find a lot of flaws, and I've mentioned them. Sunshine is anything but perfect, but what I can say is that it wanted to take a gamble, a risk, in terms of being a sequel to a critically acclaimed, successful game. And that's why I think it achieves in what it was able to strive for. The location and theme, it succeeds in. The gimmick, it sort of have its own problems, but it still sort of succeeds in a way. The areas and levels, they're more kind of open. They're a bit more grandiose in some sort of fashion. They succeeded in that. While yes, the agency was kind of stripped in Sunshine, they still was able to succeed in some sort of fashion with this game and trying to tell a story in each area as Mario tries to fulfill his duties in each of them. While yes, some components could have been used more, it's very interesting that Sunshine happened to be the first with this. While yes, Yoshi makes an appearance in Super Mario 64, we can actually play as him in this. It would take until Super Mario 64 DS for Yoshi to be playable in Super Mario 64. As well as some other interesting components of Super Mario Sunshine. This game is what I'll always consider as the summer video game. If there's one game I'd recommend to you to play during the summertime, I would 1000% recommend Super Mario Sunshine, because I think it really fits the summer theme really spectacularly. Super Mario Sunshine is a game that I feel like really the general public needs to give it more credit than I think what we do. Yes, it's a game that I'll even criticize. It's a game I'll still find flawed. And yes, in comparison into other 3D Mario games, I think a lot of other 3D Mario video games just do a lot of stuff way better. And in my opinion, I still think the original 3D Mario video game is better than Super Mario Sunshine. Yes, Super Mario 64 is indeed a greater game than Super Mario Sunshine. But, even to give it to Sunshine, it still deserves the credit that it does. Despite its flaws, I feel like people knock on this game way too much. Especially when, just in general, it is still a great 3D platforming video game. It's interesting, because the Mario video games have consistently been very incredible in terms of quality. A lot of them being some of the top video games of all time. So when you look at a game of Sunshine where it got its praise when it came out, to then the praise it gets now, you can really see the differences here. But, I still stand on my 2 feet about Super Mario Sunshine. It's a fantastic and great game that I feel like everyone has to at least try once. Because, if it was another franchise, this is still probably one of their greatest video games in the franchise. It's just interesting when you talk about it in comparison to other Mario video games where this game might place. It's interesting because I want to open that discussion again with this game, and for people to be able to freely talk about what this game did. Because again, it's still a game that's free. It's still a game that you can still have the free exploration of these levels, still be able to do certain shine sprites out of order, and in my opinion, I still think there's a great time to be had with Sunshine. It is still a great video game. It's really weird trying to talk about this game, because I think it achieves so much that people have yet to even realize. I've given it its praise, I've given it its criticism, and I still really enjoyed my time with this game. It's also a game that you can beat fast, if you know what you're doing. But, I've said it throughout the video, and I'll close it again here. Super Mario Sunshine is a video game that, if it wasn't another franchise, it would be one of their greatest of all time. But because it's battling the dominance of the 3D Mario video games that have been successful throughout, which each one pushing the boundaries of what's possible in 3D platformers, it's very noticeable how Sunshine is completely different than most of them. But you still have to give this game its credit, because it deserves it. It's a game that still evolved 3D platformers in some ways that I think people need to give the recognition to. Even though, yes, people bash it and give it its fair criticisms, it's a game that deserves more appreciation and praise. Super Mario Sunshine, just in general, should be more appreciated.